This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me. Yeah? All right, cool. I'm seeing thumbs up. I'm taking that as the sign. Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Deanna. Hello.
Hi, Jocelyn.
Hey, everyone. Hey. See here. All right. And spotlight. Wonderful. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. Let's see here. First off, as requested, I did put it in the Facebook group, but I'll put it in the chat here. For those that were requesting, I started building the Amazon wish list. So I'm going to put that into the chat. So these are things that I've purchased myself. So that I've personally liked. So I literally I've been going into my orders and just kind of adding it to a new list. So I did like all of 2022 and I think some of 2021. So I still have to go back because I've ordered several things off of Amazon for my plants over the years. But those are some of like my favorites. So let's see here. Okay. Oh gosh, I had to turn sound off for 15 minutes. Oh, I have no idea. I'm sorry. If there was some sounds, I'm not sure. Let me see here. All right.
When I tried to get in,
like
what you have today, it brought me somewhere else. There was a black lady, and so I went back to the one from the week before, and I got in. So I don't know. But I'm in. So if you're missing, you're not getting as many people. It might be, or it's just my anyways. Yeah.
Oh, what was the other link, or was it?
Well, it was your normal one you sent, 30 minutes before the class, and it says, I pressed here, and it took me somewhere else. So then I went back to the one you sent like a week ago, and I got in there.
Oh, that's so weird because it's the same. It's the same. I don't. There's only one link, so that's so weird.
Okay, the lady. That's okay. Yeah, there she is. I thought it was taking me somewhere else. There's a name right here. She came on earlier.
Oh.
So I was like, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. Hello. Hello, band. Basima? Anyway.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Oh, we have a nice crowd today. Welcome, everyone. Let me see here. And if you guys do see, I'm still trying to edit the other video where I have to try to remove someone who was popping up. And so if you do see anything odd, just in case there's any, trolls basically that come into the Zoom rooms and sometimes do inappropriate things, unfortunately, if you, because I only see a few people at a time up on top. So if you do spot anything, definitely just alert me and I can remove them, no problem, but and much appreciated. All right, so let me to quickly show you. Here we go. All right, so 2 seconds, just a little intro here. And there we go, quick. Again, welcome everyone. This is a class that is part of the Urban Garden Learning Series. I'm really, really happy to have you. In today's class, we discuss houseplants. And with our sessions, everything is covered. We try to alter it every week, so it's something new. So there's classes, there's Q&As like today, plant clinics, and open forums, which again, please let me know if you would like to share anything. I'm happy to give you the floor if you'd like to share, even if it's just a few minutes. If you want a whole presentation, just feel free to reach out. I know it can be nerve-wracking. I've had a few people that just have expressed interest that said that they were just really nervous. There's no judgment here. It's just, we're all plant lovers. So don't feel you have to do something really extensive. Just come and talk about your plants if you'd like to. Just reach out, let me know. I'm happy to give you the floor. So I'm just letting you know it's okay. And you don't have to have a full-on presentation or anything either. You can just have you on your phone with your plants, and if you wanted to talk about them. So just take that pressure off. For those of you that have reached out, just feel free. Let me know and we'll just set it up. No worries. Today's class, we're going to be doing a Q&A. And for next week, just so that everyone's aware, we'll be doing a plant clinic. And so in today's Q&A, of course, we can definitely talk about current issues you might have with your plants. But for the plant clinics, the hope is basically folks will bring any of their problem plants. Basically, we'll do a split screen, and folks can also share maybe their own experiences with that plant. So I definitely want to show you a plant today. Gosh, I'll explain it in a moment. I'm very upset about it, but at the same time, there's hope, but I was very devastated. So I'm going to share that with you in a moment. And again, this class is free. I'm never going to be charging for this class, but if you would ever like to send a tip or anything my way, of course, it's greatly appreciated, but not necessary. Just putting that on there since folks were asking if I could share that or if I would set up a Patreon, which I'll have to finish setting up. And if you do want to reach out, feel free to send your questions to info@urbangarden.eco. Because I was away last week, I'm still, the week before, I'm playing catch up. There was so many inbox. My inbox was just overflowing. So I am still rummaging through those messages. So I will try to get back to everyone. It was a lot. So I'm trying. Instagram, I'm also on Instagram if you prefer, if that's the best way you want to reach out, urbangarden.eco. Same for the website, urbangarden.eco. Feel free to reach out in any way that works for you. Happy to help how I can. And okay, so then that was that. Let me scoop the share. Maple. My cat Maple is kneading on my thigh. Here we go. Yeah, so Terry is saying, can I add something to your list? Self-watering pots that take old or sickly plants back to looking full and healthy. Yes, by all means, if you can send me the link. So I was trying to see the settings for the Amazon wish list, and it was giving me the option to make it, it was saying like open for editing, but the problem is that not only can people add things, which is great, but people could also remove things. And so I just wasn't sure if anybody would accidentally start removing things, or so I have to figure out how I can do it where folks can add things but not remove things. So in the meantime, definitely send me your links, everyone, just so that I can add them. I can totally add them to the list. Maple, are you trying to join me today? Hold on one second. He's like trying to climb up on the chair. Do you want to come up? You want to come up? Or are you just gonna stare? You want to come up? Come here. Oh my gosh. For those of you who don't know, this is Maple. And so he's He's currently attempting to hop into my lap. Here we go, buddy. I'm sitting in a very large chair. Here we go. You want half the chair? I think he wants half the chair. Okay. Here we go. So he's my my co-host today. Oh, hello, Brenda. Thank you. Oh, and now he's petting me for attention. All right. But yes, definitely let me know. Send those links my way. Happy to add them. Let's see here. Okay, so I did want to share. So I really did my best. We had my sister-in-law staying here while we were away, of course, to help us manage the householdy animals, of course. But we did our best to leave all the plants ready and fine, so she would not have to do anything. So the only plants that we told her to really watch out for were our Cebu Blue. Yes, Jen, he is a polydactyl. He is. I don't know if he'll show. Does he want to show his fingers? Not really. He has several toes. He has 6 toes. Yeah, he has several. He's like, what are you doing? he has several toes. That's why his name is Maple Hemingway. Because he's a Hemingway cat, so he's a polydactyl. Yeah. But yeah, so we left. We told her, our Cebu Blue, which is a type of pothos. It might get really thirsty while we're away, so just kind of keep an eye. But it was fine when we got back, totally fine. It's actually thirsty this morning, so it was fine. And I told her to watch out for because we got thrips on 2 of our plants, and so right now the Monstera epipromoides is perfectly fine. It doesn't even look like it has thrips. It's been doing great, no yellowing, nothing. It's perfectly fine. However, one of our biggest plants in the house, which is our El Chaco red philodendron, it had thrips. So far though, it had only lost 1 leaf. I've been keeping it under control. I was treating it every day. I was like on top of it. So I was really nervous going on vacation. And so I told my sister-in-law, I said, well, if you can at least, just spray it with alcohol. But I think it was just us, being away and not being, like there. I was so sad when I walked in and I saw that it was getting yellow. So after being away for a week, and I was just like, oh no. I mean, of course it's not her fault. It was just, but oh my gosh, that like broke my heart. And now the leaves are slowly turning brown and they're dying off, but it's giving us 2 new leaves. So I'm just gonna show you. Oh my gosh, I was devastated. I saw that a new leaf was coming in, so I was excited. And then Brian, my husband, saw a second leaf coming in yesterday. So I mean, it looks like, the old leaves are gonna die off, and we're gonna get some 2 really, and they're huge. The leaf that's currently about to unfurl looks pretty substantial. So, but it's just kind of sad. I was like, I was used to having this giant thing on my desk. And so now it looks like it's gonna be a lot smaller, but I'm gonna cut off this leaf today. Hold on. I'm kind of letting the leaves die off so that they have time to so here, look at this huge leaf. So it's ready to go. It is ready to go. It is crispy. That is ready to go. This leaf here, there we go. Look at this leaf here. So sad. So big. So sad that this leaf is going. And mind you, when I left, they were green. Like, it was beautiful. So I was really sad to come home to it turning yellow. And I was like, yep, it's on its way out. It's yeah. So these leaves are going, I should say. And these are coming. So look at that. So that is on its way. And there's another that is getting started. So I'm telling myself, it's gonna be okay. It was definitely jarring when I walked in, and this, because look at this thing, it's substantial. And so I have it sitting on my desk, and yeah, just the moment I walked in and saw the yellow, my heart dropped. But yeah, I mean, I know it's been dealing with thrips, and I think it was just finally like, I'm gonna lose these old leaves and just give you new ones. And so it happens. It happens. Really, really sad about that. But looking forward to seeing the new leaves. But gosh, it's never easy when you lose a really, really big leaf. Yeah, and I was like, oh gosh. Paulette says, I think it missed you. Yeah. I was like, no. Yes, and Sue is correct. At least it isn't a plant with a long trunk that it would show. Yes. Definitely. It's still, in that pretty small in that regard. It hasn't climbed that far up the pole, so it's not going to be noticeable. And the two new leaves look like the one that's about to come out. It's going to be the same size. I'm still going to be a really, fantastic size leaf, but yeah, it's not noticeable, but it still it still hurt. Well, I cut off all the yellow and brown leaves. Yes. So with this, in this case, so because the new leaves were coming in, I was just like, you know what? Instead of just cutting them all off right now because they're turning yellow, they still had big chunks of green. So I decided to just leave them. And then yesterday, that other leaf turned completely brown. So it'll probably drop on its own. But yes, I wait until they're basically like that. Now, this is because I see that the leaf itself is it's like a normal kind of dying process. If I see though, and it's crispy, it's not rotting. It's more like all the moisture, everything, the resources are basically being pulled out of the leaf. If I saw though that it was kind of mushy and it looked like it was rotting, I would definitely cut that off immediately. In this case, I was just letting them, they're just crisping up. And then once they're ready, then I'll let them go. But you definitely, if it's something weird, like there's brown patches and it feels very soft to the touch, that could be fungal, that could be bacterial. So you would want to remove that as quickly as possible. It had pest damage. It was still green, but when I shined the light, you could see all the damage that the thrips had done. And I just think it finally said, bye to these leaves. I'm just putting out fresh ones. So, but it was still, because gosh, we've had this plant for a while now, and it had four huge leaves. And then it lost one, but it was still doing great with three for a really long time. And yeah, and then it just decided, I'm gonna lose all three at the same time. But yeah, it happens. Oh, what are thrips? Oh gosh, yes, they're a bug. So they're an insect. For me personally, I've been checking my other plants. So far, so good. We've been trying to stay on top of, treating these guys so it doesn't spread, because thrips are the worst. I would rather have mealybugs on all my plants. I would rather have spider mites. I would rather have like hard scale on my plants than thrips. Thrips are just so difficult to get rid of. So we've been like really attentive and checking our plants, and unfortunately the local plant shop that we get our ladybugs from, they aren't getting any more until I think next week. So ladybugs are the best line of defense, definitely, or just any type of carnivorous insect, predatory insect that feeds on thrips. That's the best. best way to kind of approach it. Because if you try, we've tried with like Brian, he had a thrift infestation in his office for some of his plants, and he tried what we always have, which is the Captain Dead Bug. It's the bonide systemic pesticide, which basically it basically infuses the plant with poison so that the insects that are the pestiferous insects bite into it and die. Similarly to how like Frontline works with like dogs for ticks and fleas. But the thing is, it can be very corrosive to the leaves. And so a lot of his plants, just their leaves curled up. The thrips were gone, but now you were left with the leaf damage. So he has a lot of stumps that he's rehabilitating that are starting to come back. But yeah, it's the worst, absolute worst. So we were shocked when we saw them. And for me, my only experience previously with thrips was my Syngonium collection in my bathroom. I had brought one, and this was back in like 2017. Huge Syngonium collection in my bathroom. And I brought home I think it was a confetti or maybe it was a confetti or a dwarf Syngonium. It was one I was adding to my collection, and I had thought that I had quarantined it for enough time, introduced it to the collection because I had them all kind of together. I had like wall planters and stuff all over the bathroom full of Syngoniums. Unbeknownst to me, it had thrips. And when I went to water them, right after I had done that, I saw the thrips on the plant itself, got rid of it, but it was too late. I started spotting the thrips on all my Syngoniums, and it took out my Syngonium collection. So the only plants that ended up surviving in my bathroom were my pothos. I had like a couple of varieties of pothos, and they were fine. I had some spider plant babies, they survived. But all my Syngoniums gone. So I got rid of it with the bonide, but I lost all my Syngoniums, and yeah, I never got them again. And while you might see a mealybug here or a spider mite here, you can treat it really quickly. Thrips, yeah. And so we've been really staying on top of it, because I would be devastated if it spread more, because it could definitely attack the majority of my collection. What was okay the last time, it was only my bathroom, but we're fine. We found them, so we think they might have escaped basically the office, and so they came on a plant that was added to my husband's office collection, and then it looks like there was transfer. Folks, you can accidentally transfer them on your hands. They can cling to your clothes, on items, things like that. You never know, and you end up spreading them around your home. How long ago did the thrips attack and the new leaves will not turn yellow? Good question, Tanya. So the thrips, gosh, it's been, I don't know, maybe a little over a month. We first noticed because our leaves started, so that one leaf on the Chaco started turning yellow, and I was very odd. So I was, of course, kind of investigating, because I said, well, it's been getting watered. Great, we haven't changed its location, so there's something that's messing with it. And that's when I spotted the thrips, and I started treating it. The leaf that had already been damaged, that one just started to go. But then the other leaves were green and holding strong, and it looked like we were keeping them, back. I would spot like one or two and kill them and keep treating the plant. And all I was doing was with a mix of, so a paper towel with it was a mix of dish soap, rubbing alcohol, and water. And again, non-degreasing dish soap. So you don't want something that's going to be very corrosive and it's going to strip the protective wax that's on your leaves, called the cuticle. So try to look for different types of non-degreasing dish soaps, like Myers is good, Castile soap. Now, if you're in a pinch and you only have Dawn or something like that, by all means, just use it right then and there, and then run out and when you have a moment and and grab some non-degreasing dish soap, because but gosh, and so I just kept treating it, and you clean the front side of the leaf, which is called the adaxial, and the back side of the leaf, which is called the abaxial. So I was cleaning both sides of the leaf, cleaning the petioles, so that stem that connects it to the main stem. I was spraying alcohol, rubbing alcohol every day. And so it was looking great. It was looking like nothing was wrong with the plant. We were keeping them at bay, and then we left for the week. We left for the week. So I was like, oh, come on. I thought it was going to be fine because it had been doing so great. And I was like, great. And Jamie Murphy's asking, if a leaf is partially brown and damaged and the problem has been cured, can you cut away the brown and save the leaf? Absolutely. Absolutely. So in many cases where sometimes the damage is either mechanical, which means it was accidentally hit by something. So maybe you were moving and it got caught in between boxes. If you accidentally smacked the plant, dropped the plant, something like that, where you caused that rip and then that area kind of browned, you can cut it. That leaf will be fine. I had a pothos that I think it was spider mites. I think it was spider mites. And a couple of the leaves had gotten damaged. I removed those, treated the plant. It was great. But one of the biggest leaves really had a lot of brown. I cut it, and that leaf was around for like more than a year. It was just there. It looked odd, but it was perfectly fine. So that's why also if especially if it's not like bacterial or fungal or outright a pest type of attack, sometimes with the leaves, yeah, as long as they have still active green areas, they're still photosynthesizing. So you can leave it and find out. We can definitely do that. Linda Bruce, do you dilute the alcohol? I do not. When I do the treatment where I'm cleaning the leaves, that is diluted with it's like 1 or 2 drops of dish soap, and then I do like a half and half water. So water and then rubbing alcohol, but that's more because I really want to kind of get the suds kind of going, and so I add some more water there. But when I do my regular spray with just rubbing alcohol, it's 70% rubbing alcohol, and I do not dilute it. Now, I always tell folks, I have not had a problem personally. I've sprayed begonias, I've sprayed pileas or pileas. I've sprayed all types of plants with straight 70% rubbing alcohol, and they were perfectly fine. However, if you're trying this for the first time, do a test spot, try like on a tiny leaf, and see how your plant reacts. Not all plants react exactly the same. So just, do a little test spot, see if you're more comfortable with, I'm going to do half and half. That's fine, totally fine. But yeah, so I just want to make sure I let you know, because yes, most plants, I personally haven't had an issue with the alcohol. Like I haven't sprayed a plant and then it turned brown, for instance. So I didn't burn the plant. But I always want to tell folks, if you're trying it for the first time, maybe dilute it or do a test patch just in case, because maybe your plant might be a little bit more sensitive. So just so that you're aware. And Hank, can you bring elephant ears in from the outside for winter? Yeah, elephant ears tend to die back to their corm, which is like a bulb. And you can totally bring them back in for the winter, especially if you have a really heavy, hard winter that's going to cause freeze. It might not survive. The corms might not survive. So yeah, you can definitely do so. I know I used to have caladiums that I would keep outside, and they're related. And here in New York City, and so then yeah, they would come indoors, and they were fine for a while. Let me see here. Jerry, what is your treatment for mealybug? I understand there are two types. One, oh yes, one in the soil, and the other one is seen on the leaves of the plant. And they love African violets and gesneriads. Yes, 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 yes. So mealybugs. With mealybugs, I've found it's kind of a two-pronged attack, basically. And so with that is it's both a kind of overall wash that I do on the plant, and then I go in with a fine-tooth comb with Q-tips. But I also recommend, and I added that to the Amazon wish list, which are these paint pens. They're paint corrector pens. So they're hollow and they have a little brush at the tip. And what you do is you fill it up with rubbing alcohol, and then you can go ahead and almost basically paint, but they come with different tips. So they can get really into the crevices much more effectively than with regular Q-tips, like the cotton swabs. Do, of course, clean them very, very well after use, because you don't want to be then spreading mealybug across your plants. But I highly recommend that. But basically I thankfully have never had any issue with the mealybugs that do attack the roots. And so thankfully I've never had that issue. From what I've heard, the best way to kind of work with that is more so to do a full soil change, and sometimes a hydrogen peroxide drench. Now, the issue with hydrogen peroxide drench is that one, hydrogen peroxide is corrosive. So this is not a treatment you want to do to your plants like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it every month. Don't do that. At most, you want to do a hydrogen peroxide drench for an affected plant. So don't do it unnecessarily. But for an affected plant, at most, like once every 6 months. It's going to take some time for your substrate to recover. And what I mean is it's not only going to potentially damage your roots, but it also kills everything that's in the soil. So this includes not only the bad things that you're trying to get, but all of the good things too. So there are beneficial fungi and bacteria that are in your substrate. It's like a little ecosystem. There might be also springtails, other just microorganisms that call your substrate home and are actively helping your plant along. And so sometimes a pest comes in there, but when you do use those type of things, it just ends up killing everything. So you know, you need time to basically build that back up. With that, so that's the hydrogen peroxide drench, and that's usually the hydrogen peroxide. It tends to be diluted 3 to 4 times. So it's like 1 part and then 3 to 4 parts. I would say more water. So like 4 parts water is probably the better option. And then it's poured onto the substrate. It'll bubble and fizz, and that's supposed to really help kind of kill everything that's in the substrate. In terms of the ones that are on the actual leaves, hold on, I'm going to move the plant because Mozart thinks that it's a toy, so he's batting the the leaves right now. Come here, buddy. I don't know if any of you have seen Mozart yet. Oh, come here. This is Mozart. Yeah. And so with that, then yes, I'm doing I usually will bring the plant over. Well, of course, this is difficult if it's a large plant, right? But if it's a smaller plant, bring it over to your sink or your bathtub, whichever works easier. And you're going to want to mix up. So again, a rubbing alcohol with water with soap. You're going to tilt your pot because you don't want to get all that soap in there. You're going to tilt the pot. You're going to spray the plant. And you're going to let that sit. You're going to hold your plant, let that sit for about 5 minutes. And as it's sitting there, you can also massage the plant. So basically try to get that soap in everywhere, all the crevices, all the nooks and crannies. That's usually very effective at killing the mealybugs that help kind of suffocate them. Then after about 5 minutes, you want to give that a good rinse. So that's a really nice way. Also, they get knocked off by the water. So it's really helpful, you know, to if you have one of those like shower heads. If not, just a steady stream, you can just maneuver the plant and use your hands to really try to clean those leaves. And then after everything, set your plant back up on a table, and go in now with the fine tooth comb. So I'll dip Q-tips or I'll use my little pen, and go in there and get all the nooks and crannies, because mealybugs will create nests in these little ridges, and I want to make sure I'm taking everything out. And if you catch any stragglers, the minute that the alcohol touches them, they literally turn black. And so it's pretty easy to spot. And after everything, I'll go back even and do just a quick little spray in case there's anything I'm missing. And I will do that at least once a week. So at least once a week, for a minimum of 6 weeks, but 10 weeks tends to be the sweet spot. So I think I've been treating now with the thrips. I was being consistent maybe about 4 or 5 weeks, something like that. So I missed that week. And so, you know, it can rebound and really damage your plant. So you have to stay on top of it when you are treating the plant. So just because maybe you treated it for 3 weeks and you don't see any more mealybugs, right? And you're like, totally fine, my plant's great, it's saved. Don't believe that. Try to continue treating the plant for a few more weeks just to be sure, because you don't know, there might be a female somewhere hidden there, and she'll be laying eggs and you're back where you started. So do definitely, it's like the antibiotics where you don't finish the last 2 and you end up getting sick again. So just yeah, definitely treat them. Yeah. Cheryl is asking, I just heard of Lechusapon. Have you ever used it, and when would you use it, and would I recommend it? Yes, I've been trying to get my hands on a bag of Lechusapon for a really long time, and every time I get the thought and I go, yeah, I'm gonna order, let me see if there are any available. It's been sold out for a while, at least like on Amazon, or it's ridiculously priced. I've seen some bags that are about like 10 pounds and folks want $50 for it. And so when usually it's much cheaper. It's just a lot of people have gotten into the plant hobby over the pandemic. And so a lot of supplies ended up going like completely sold out. I don't know if you guys had that experience here in New York City. Terracotta in 2020 was so hard to find. Even in 2021, folks were just buying out all the terracotta. And so we were just, my sister-in-law and I, because she's a fellow plant person, we would check out the local Home Depot, go to Lowe's, and there was no terracotta. It was only like the giant terracotta. So, and then all the leca, which is the clay little balls, if you've seen them, the lightweight expanded, so it's leca, so it's lightweight expanded clay aggregate, that was sold out from a lot of places. And pon has been sold out from a lot of places. And when I would find it, it would just be super expensive. So I haven't looked in a while, so I don't know the current state of the supply. But I do have plants that I've gotten from other private sellers. So like Hoyas, for instance, that were being kept in pon. So therefore I do have plants in pon. I just haven't bought it myself and done that. Yes, I have. Yes, Sue says, try the thrift shop for pots. Oh yeah, definitely. thrift shops are a great place for pots, also for display pots, sometimes nice baskets and things like that, things that you can paint. We were actively looking for terracottas for some of our like succulent species and stuff. But yeah, there was there was none for a while. Gosh, yeah. It was, yeah, they were, I think I'll see if I can find photos, because I swear I took photos, but you could just see that they're all like missing. It was, yeah, there was a complete lack of them for a while, at least here in New York City. Like no matter where you went, it's like, oh, sorry, no, oh, we only have these. It was really bad. With the lechuza pawn, yes, let me look, let me find something for you here so that folks that aren't familiar with it. But in terms of my experience with it, so far, I have some Hoyas in lechuza pawn, and they've been great. They haven't given me an issue. So far, so good. It's very similarly to how I use my leca. So thankfully it's been great. So from my understanding, the lechuza pawn, so this is the substrate, it's much finer than the leca, right? That tend to be these bigger little ball shapes. This is much more of like a grit kind of substrate. But the allure is supposed to be that it is infused with minerals, and basically it gives your plant nutrition, so that you're not actually actively having to add much more nutrition to your plant. So that's my understanding. It's kind of it helps feed your plant and serve as a substrate all in one. And so here you can see now, some folks just have their plants just in pond. So this is now becoming much more popular for folks that are growing plants hydroponically, which means in water. So this is their substrate of choice. It's supposed to also be much, there's like a lower rate of pests from what I've read. So I've read amazing things on pond. And as I said, the few plants that I do have are Hoyas that are in pond, and they're perfectly fine. So and with those, I think only one has a drainage hole. The others are just completely in water in pond. They're doing great. Yeah, I haven't had any issues with it. I've noticed I don't get that that kind of white mineral residue that I do sometimes get on my leca, right? That's like the water, if I'm using tap water or anything like that, it kind of leaves that white residue over time. I noticed that I don't see that. I've never seen mold growing on the pond. I've never also smelled any odd odor or anything like that coming from the pond. So far so good. With leca, sometimes if you kind of wait, I have quite a few plants that are in leca that are in my windows, and sometimes they get algae. And so sometimes when I go to clean them, there's definitely, if I kind of let the algae build up for a little bit, and the reason you don't want to let that happen, so if you spot it, that's why I'm like, oh, it's been a couple weeks, I gotta clean that out. Because the algae will compete with your plant's roots for oxygen in the water. So you want to definitely, if you realize, oh my gosh, it's green because of all that algae, you want to make sure that you attend to it as quickly as you can. Oh, here you can see too, it says this item is not currently available. So it's I don't know, I have no idea. Yeah, it's been going. It's one of the new kind of trendy substrates to use. I think the newer one is the which I haven't used yet, is the fluval substratum. Is it stratum? Let me see here. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. I've been seeing, I think it's stratum, haha, there we go. It's these black pebbles. There we go. And so I've been seeing a lot of folks talking about this. And so that it's supposed to be incredibly good for your plants. It's a great alternative to like leca, and I have not tried it yet though. So I will be trying to get my hands on some and see. I'll do some experimentation. I'll put some propagations in this mix and see how they fare. But I have seen a lot of this being mentioned in different forums, on Facebook pages, on Discord. There are plant Discord groups, guys, so that you're aware. If you ever just want to hop on a chat and just talk about plants, there are so many places. There's so many places. It's not just like Facebook or Instagram, but literally there are Discord groups, and folks just hop in there and go, look at the plant I just bought, and oh, what's this that's growing on my plant, or you know, and it's wonderful. There's so many different channels, and people create like a whole thing. So if you're looking to connect more with community like that, by all means, if you guys are interested in me setting up a Discord channel for the urban garden community, let me know. Happy to do so. If anyone wants like another way to connect with people, happy to set up a channel. It's always fun. Just people like sharing, oh look, I'm repotting these plants, or you know, things like that. It's always fun to see. So definitely let me know. Happy to do that. Very easy to do. But yes, so I'm gonna be trying this type of substrate too, and see. Has anyone made DIY pon? I've done some, and so far so good. Oh, hold on one second. Someone's audio's coming through kind of choppy. 1 second. There we go. DIY pon, I've made some, and so far it seems good. However, the best method is to use a wick and a reservoir. Yeah, so the one that I have that does have a drainage hole, it does have a wick and a reservoir. And the other ones that I have are just they were given to me like in glass, and the roots are happy and healthy, so I left them as is. But yeah, I mean, if yeah, definitely let me know if you've had a good experience with pon. I have a very limited experience with it, because I've gotten established plants already that were happy in pon. And so they just had to deal with acclimating to our home, but not, yeah, but not kind of starting the plants out in pon. So that is something I have yet to jump into. Oh, and Terry says, I think my little bonsai is in pon. Very likely it's been getting really popular. Discord, what is Discord? Yes, so it's a different platform. It's kind of similar to Slack, if anyone's familiar with Slack. So basically it's just it's like a chat forum essentially, and you create a channel, and then that can be split into different channels. So if, let's say, we wanted to create a chat that's only for Hoya, and another one that's only for philodendrons, things like that. So you can kind of create subcategories of conversations, and then you can share photos. So people tend to you can react to them. People can start chats, start discussions, things like that. So it's just yet another communication platform. But yeah, and what another thing about Discord is that you can actually hop onto like a chat room where it's like audio, so you can set up a conversation basically, and folks can just come into the room and just talk. And so there's no visual, but it's just, you just hear audio. And yeah, and then folks just tune in and talk. Sometimes when my husband talks to a lot of his friends, because when they're playing video games, and Discord tends to be the method of choice, and you'll just see him like walking around and talking on his headphones, and it's just his Discord buddies. But yeah, and I'm on plant Discords, and it's fun. It's fun. It really is. I know folks are like, what? It's fun. You have to try it. You have to try it. It's fun. Are there specific plants that are good in pond? Yeah, I mean, I would say with plants that don't mind, that are successful in when growing in water for long term, I definitely wouldn't recommend pond, let's say for like a cactus. I haven't really seen that done, or like a euphorbia, something that's going to be, already able to hold on to water for long periods of time. So it's not going to want to actively have a bunch of water surrounding it for a long period. Now, while I do start some of my cuttings for cacti and euphorbia, I have started them in a substrate like a perlite or a leca. I have started them like that because then that's a great way to root them. But then I don't keep them in there long term. But yes, my Hoyas that I do have in pond are happy. I've seen like monsteras, I've seen pothos, I've seen, what else have I seen? There's Hoyas. I've seen a lipstick plant in pond. Yeah, so I mean there's several plants that you can keep in pond, and especially a lot for establishing propagations. I've seen a lot of folks recommending pond to just get your plants established. So, if you can get your hands on the pond, definitely try and experiment, try to see. I would love to, I really want to get like a nice big bag and really try to hop in on that. I'm just trying to see if I lost. Oh, Patricia. Yes. Would you like, yes, your African violet. Yes, definitely. So hold on, let me add a spotlight. Here we go. Whoa. Oh,
It has so many leaves that have all turned this yellow and brown. I don't know what this is.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a great example of when leaves are getting chlorotic. So that means they're starting to yellow. And so you can really see the difference, right? Because African violets tend to be a really nice dark green. So is it crispy to the touch, or is it kind of soft to the touch?
The leaf is still pretty thick, so it's not weak at all.
So, I mean, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it's root rot, but there's definitely, have you changed anything in its care recently? Is this a relatively new plant, or is this a plant you've had for a while?
It's a relatively new plant. I've had it for about, I'm going to say 4 months now.
Okay.
And I had it on the lower ledge. Actually, I had it higher up, and I moved it to a lower ledge where I put some other plants that like a lot of humidity. So at first I thought maybe it doesn't like the humidity. And so I moved the high humidity plants somewhere else, and I moved this further up where it wasn't getting as much humidity. But that's the only thing that I've done that's different. And the leaves are still, I mean, I cut quite a few of the leaves off because this was really quite large. And I have no idea what this is.
Yeah. mean, African violets do appreciate humidity. They just don't want their leaves to be
Right.
soaking wet.
Right.
But I mean, it could be sunburn. It could be, that could be something. It could potentially be sunburn. That's a possibility.
Well, it's under a grow light. I keep it
Oh, it's
under a
the
grow light.
Okay. How close is it? Is it relatively close to the grow light?
Now it's not.
Okay, so then maybe
Now
it's
it's
not.
not. It was
So-
before, and it didn't have any of the brown.
Okay,
when it
okay,
was
good. So that
closer to the
so we can
light.
rule that out. No, yeah, that's great. Because sometimes when plants are introduced, just for folks who are here that might not know, if you have a plant that's been growing, like let's say out here, it's been great, and then you go and move it directly under a grow light right away, sometimes it can cause them to burn. So just so that you're aware. But if it wasn't like right there and that brown wasn't happening after changing it, so see, it's like an investigative process, everyone.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
you try to see, because sometimes it can be something incredibly insignificant that can cause that. So have you had any that could, so one thing that it could be was sunburn. Another thing is it could be something that's going on in the substrate. It could be a nutritional deficiency that can sometimes cause chlorosis like that. So sometimes it's a lack of magnesium or nitrogen or calcium even can cause that kind of discoloration of the leaves, but they're not getting mushy or anything like that. So usually when they get that soft kind of feeling, it's rot, it's bacterial, it's fungal. That tends to be that kind of wheelhouse. But being that it's crisping up and just turning that really light yellow, and we're so I don't think now that it's sunburn. I don't think it was then caused by the grow light if it wasn't happening right then and there.
Right.
And it sounds like you just moved it kind of up and down. You didn't really move it to a completely different area.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So I don't think so. It's not like a reacclimation thing, because that can also happen. You can take the plant that was here and it's been happy here, and you go and you move it across the room, and it's too much of a difference. So the plant has to kind of reorient itself, and you might lose leaves in the process. So it wasn't an acclimation issue. And you haven't seen any pests or anything
No, I
on the
haven't. I
leaves?
keep
Okay.
lifting it out and looking at the soil and looking, I mean, it looks really quite healthy underneath, and the soil seems to be fine. I don't see anything moving around in it. And
So
I
I mean,
wondered
it
if I
could
was
be.
watering it too much.
And how often are you watering it?
Well, I've recently brought like a little thermometer thing to tell me when the soil is dry. So I wait until it's down in the 3 area, which is the red dry area, before I then soak it.
Okay. So so my gut is then leaning towards, more than likely it could be a nutritional deficiency.
Okay.
So what you could try, is if you happen to get your hands on something like Super Thrive. I've been actually using Super Thrive. I added it's 1 drop per gallon. So it's like super diluted. I haven't had an issue yet. So I just started trying that a few weeks ago. And so far so good. But maybe try something that's like really gentle like that. So if you want to see if it'll cause any change, things like worm castings are great. I always recommend that, but they're slow release. It's kind of it's not going to show you really quick results. Now, the leaves that turned yellow, they won't necessarily be turning green again.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that those might just die off, but then the new growth you'll see coming in a darker green. So I would say to attend to potential nutritional deficiency. However, if you're going to use anything, make sure it's insanely diluted. So don't try anything full strength. And I always say, and as other hobbyists do too, if something says like dilute it 4 times, dilute it 6 times, just
Okay.
a little bit more than the recommendation. Because that it
Because you
could
see, it's still it's putting out new
it's
growth in
still
your
putting out
brain.
growth. Yeah.
Huh.
So that's why I'm thinking then I'm gonna lean towards potential. It's like might be a nutritional deficiency.
Okay.
You can try to see there, but yeah, so it's not sunburn. You're not actively seeing any pests, though.
Mm-mm.
Still check. So
Right.
every chance you kind of get, just
Right.
kind of look.
I do.
Just look. Good.
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Pretty often.
Yeah, because
I'm a
you never know.
helicopter mother.
That's how you have to be with plants sometimes. So. No, absolutely. Yeah, like sometimes you might think you got it figured out, and
Mhm.
I've had that happen too, and I'm like, yeah, okay, totally. I figured out what was wrong with it, and then you see the lone mealy bug, and I'm like, so,
What
but
was
yeah,
the name of that fertilizer you said that
Super Thrive.
Super Thrive?
Yeah,
Okay.
Super Thrive.
Okay.
And I'll put that in the chat. Um, that is a good point. A Sue, yes. So something else that can cause burns like that on the leaves is fertilizer burn. Being that you had the plant for a few months, I'm gonna assume that you hadn't fertilized it yet.
No, I have not.
But yeah, that can cause fertilizer burn. But let me see here. Yes, that is a really good point. Sue. So the issue, I'm just dropping in Super
Right.
Thrive in the
Mhm.
chat. But to Sue's point, yes, that can actually happen. If you end up getting fertilizer on your leaves. So the issue with a lot of these commercial fertilizers, especially ones that are not very water soluble, like Super Thrive is water soluble, but certain like these other commercial ones can sometimes be so strong that what actually ends up happening is that when they do get introduced to your soil, they're very salt heavy, so they end up leaching moisture away from your roots. So if you're ever going to fertilize your plants, also make sure that you water them at least 24 hours ahead.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I followed your direction.
Yeah, no, that's
That's what
great.
I do.
You want to make sure that those roots are nice and and hydrated, because when that fertilizer comes into contact with them, if they're really dehydrated, it can really burn them and severely damage your roots. And if it does touch your leaves, that cannot. Julia is singing in the background. You can also damage your leaves that way. Now, that's actually making me think too. So sometimes there are little balls they're called the slow release fertilizer pellets or fertilizer balls. Sometimes nurseries do add those to the mix. Upon your investigation of the roots, did you see a lot of these little green balls by any chance?
No, I think I've seen
Okay.
like little blue balls, but I don't think I've seen any green.
Okay. So they come in different colors. They do come in different colors. Sometimes they're like clear, sometimes they're green. I have seen blue, I've seen yellow as well. So the issue with that is that they're slow release, and so they are actually triggered basically every time you water. That's when they release a little bit more fertilizer. But sometimes nurseries are a little overzealous with their application. And sometimes you'll even look down in the pot and there's like a bunch of these little beads all over it. And it's because they're really kind of heavy handed. And the problem is you don't see an issue right away. But after a couple months of watering the plant and these fertilizers leaching, leaching, you end up seeing the issue months from when they were given those fertilizer balls. So that is a really, thank you, Sue. Thank you for sending me down that that rabbit hole there. Because yes, so that is another potential possibility. So next time you you kind of give the roots a check, try to just kind of bat away some of those little granules, those little balls, and that, I mean, in the long run, it'll just be it'll be safer for your plant, because if there were too many, it's definitely going to hurt the plant. I use the I have them. I kind of stopped using them, but more because I was really going hard on worm casting. So it's not necessarily there's something bad with them, but I use Job's granular fertilizer pellets. And so and I do add like a pinch here and there, but I've leaned more towards using worm castings. But those, again, you want to use them like a pinch, so you don't want to use a whole lot in your mix, because yeah, they can cause problems down the line if you're heavy-handed.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was
All
a
right.
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I'll definitely try the light fertilizer.
Yeah,
and
hopefully
see
that
how
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and try to remove those little pellets if you see them. Just safer in the long run.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Let me see if I missed anyone. Oh, Carol, and you can make your own pond with pumice, zeolite, and lava rock. Ooh, okay. I have pumice, I have lava rock. I don't have zeolite. Okay. I need to try that. I need to try that. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try that. I got a bunch of lava rock. And I got like 2 different mixes. I got one that's like one type of lava rock, and then another one, it's like three different types of lava rock that was meant for bonsai. And I recently bought that to kind of play with. I really love experimenting, and I always tell my students, I highly recommend just experiment. Especially if you have cuttings, just try different things out. If you're successful, that's how you end up with like 300 plants. So you can't lose. You'll just end up with more plants. If they're successful in your experiments, right? So just try it. The whole hobby is one big experiment. So just try it. You end up, oh, this works, that's great, and now you can cut up a plant where you had 1 plant, now you have 10 of them. So, it's not much, you're not just experiment, try different substrates, try to see what sticks. It's always fun. And yeah, if you see, I mean, of course I've had things that okay, wow, this was an epic failure of an experiment, but then you learn. It's just a really fun process. And you just start to really fine tune your kind of approach to the hobby, and everyone has a different approach. And that's why I love sharing kind of what's worked for me. But I always tell folks that it's different. For instance, I don't have many plants, for instance, that have containers that don't have drainage holes. I do have a couple of plants that are solely living in water, but the majority of my plants have pots with drainage holes. But I completely know hobbyists that have been keeping plants also 20, 30 years, and a lot of their pots don't have drainage holes, but they fine-tuned it. They know exactly how much the different plants need, how often to water, and they don't have root rot. you know. So it's definitely every person has so many different approaches and things that work for them. So I'm always, you know, inviting folks, please definitely put things in the chat. You know, share, let me know what's worked for you, any fun experience you tried that were epic failures. I've definitely done quite a few of those. So you know, it's a no judgment like zone here. You know, I've tried a couple things, and for instance, with succulents, with trying to root the little leaves, like the little, what they're called phylloclades, for like jade and things like that. One really fun experiment was every time I did it in soil, I would follow all these like Pinterest things. My mom, I grew up with her putting them directly in soil, right? And they would work for her. It would not work for me. I would, maybe out of the 10 little pieces of jade that I would put in there, maybe one would root and everything else would rot. And I was just devastated. And what happened, I decided to experiment, and I tried throwing them into a saucer. So the plant saucers, I put some leca in there. I put them in there. I added a little bit of water, and there you go. That has been an incredibly effective way. That's how now I root all of my succulents in leca now. Just on a whim, you know. So just play. It's really fun to learn and experiment, and it definitely makes you, you know, it makes you feel like a kid. You kind of get all awe-inspired, and definitely do it. You know, it's fun. It's definitely fun. You don't. I see a lot of folks that get into houseplants and then take on this kind of defeatist attitude, like, oh, all my plants are dying, or, well, just take it more as a learning experience. It's like, okay, so you tried to take care of it this way, that didn't work. So maybe if you really love that species of plant, get it again, you know. If you're starting off, don't start off with the expensive plants. Get the cheap ones, get the $3 plants, get the $4 plants, and see what you don't kill, right? Try to see, like, all right, cool, I'm keeping all my euphorbia alive, I'm keeping all my snake plants alive. Maybe I can move up to pothos and monstera and experiment, see what works, what doesn't, and kind of build your collection from there. So it doesn't, you don't go from like one plant and then have like 100 and not have plants not doing well, not have plants that you're learning with. So, you know, so it's one big experiment. So I'm just letting you know there's no wrong way to really try to approach it. So keep it fun. Definitely keep it fun. Shirley says, what would you recommend to care for a Chinese fan palm? The plant has started getting crispy tips. Okay. Yes, with palms in general, when they start to show those crispy tips, it usually is an issue with humidity. So if you potentially, some palms are just very sensitive to things like drafts in the home. Maybe you have an AC going. If you had the plant for a while and then it just kind of started, so it could sometimes be, again, these little negligible things that you don't really think that make a really big difference actually end up making a big difference. So things like you started keeping that window open. Maybe you move the plant closer to a doorway or a balcony, right? And so the door is constantly being opened. So there could be something that is altering that humidity level around the plant that could be causing that. Sometimes even just added heat. It's just, you know, summer, it's getting a little hotter. And so that can also cause those tips. If you've been consistently watering it, your watering schedule hasn't changed, you don't see any pests on it, then I would say it might be a humidity issue. And sometimes what works great for just finding out about your humidity is getting gauges. So for instance, I have like one right behind me here. You can get them really cheap now. They used to be super expensive. I think when I first bought mine, gosh, about like 6 years ago, it was like almost $35. And now I'm seeing that they're selling like 3 packs for $7. So it's definitely gone down. They used to be much more expensive, but they're super, super cheap now. And keep them around the house where you have plants. And so you can, like, I keep one here, I keep one over there with on my bookshelf with my plants. I have one by the TV and the window, because every corner of your home is going to be different. It's going to be a different temperature. It's going to have different humidity levels. So I would assume it could be a humidity issue. Now, if you're like, no, definitely not a humidity issue, nothing has changed, then has there been consistent watering? That could be something. Maybe palms, for the most part, they tend to be thirstier plants. Now, not things like a sago palm or something like that are built to their little tanks. They're built to hold fluid basically. But yeah, other palms like Majesty palms, Parlor palms, fan palms, Kentianas, things like that. Yeah, it's usually when they're crisping, it's an issue with humidity. So I would say to just kind of assess the area around it. Has there been any recent changes? So even if you just installed a new fan, sometimes it's like it's like little things like that can really cause a really drastic change for your plant. And you might not think, you're like, oh no, I just, I updated my fan. We, for instance, got a new AC unit here in the living room. It's much stronger than our old AC. Our old AC, gosh, it was like 10 years old. And so it's a difference. So like my old AC's 70 is not this AC 70. This AC 70, it gets very cold. And so we've been having to adjust it and watch, our monitors so that it doesn't dry out the air, because we like to keep it over 50% here. And like right now by my window, it says it's 63. Here it's 60% humidity. It's 82 here with 60%. By the window, it's 83.7, and so Fahrenheit. I have to learn how to convert it on the fly to Celsius, but I'm sorry, I don't. 63% humidity over there, and then over here we have 83 Fahrenheit with 63% humidity. So there's slight differences. But yeah. Oh, Deanna, yes, I'm sorry. I'm catching up on all of them, but let me quickly check here. Boo, 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 since this is right here. So let me look at the air plants. Okay. Let's see here. Was it at the info at urbangarden.eco, or was it Jocelyn at urbangarden.eco? Because I set up the info one because the Jocelyn one got so full, and I was like, okay, let's make a dedicated.
Jocelyn, it was to Jocelyn.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't.
No,
send
no,
it.
no,
Okay.
no, you're fine. No worries.
Okay.
Just trying to find it. Let me see here. Air plants. Yeah. It's not popping up. Air plants with a space. Deanna. Let's see. No. It's not popping up, at least not under your name. So I'm just trying to see under your last name. I am not. I'm so sorry. I'm not. I'm not finding it in here. No. But please, if you can send it again, I'll definitely check that out. I'm so sorry I missed that. I missed that one.
It's okay. Tried sending it to info@urbangarden@echo.
Okay, so let's quickly try that. Okay. Ah, there we go.
Oh, good.
Okay. So let's see here. Air plants. Oh, I see. Okay, yes. So they do look. So let me try here. Okay, so I'm going to put here, I'm going to share so that others can see what I'm referring to. There we go. All right, so these look like they're Ionantha, so Tillandsia ionantha varieties. And so the one in the center looks like it recently flowered.
Yes.
And it does look like it has pups already. It has the different heads, so sometimes they're clumped like that together. So don't be surprised if you see more pups.
Oh, good. Okay.
Now the one that is with the red, so that one does look slightly dehydrated, and so the others look fine. The leaf structure looks fine. But when the Tillandsias, they start to kind of create those taco leaves, their leaves kind of get like that. That is usually a sign that they're getting dehydrated. How often are you watering these guys?
It's a couple weeks or maybe longer. I usually water it when I put the orchid in the sink and fill up the, the bottom, fill it from the bottom up, and let it soak in the water. And then I usually mist these at the same time.
Ah,
A couple weeks or could be longer. It depends on when the orchid dries to where I need to water it again,
and so you're only misting these guys? Are you letting them sit in water?
I did the last time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I think definitely with the larger one, you might end up losing some of those leaves. But I would say to definitely soak that one. With mine, I end up soaking them about every 2 to 3 weeks or so. And I primarily have ionanthas like that. And so, but for these guys, I literally put them upside down in a bowl with like spring water. And then I let them sit for about an hour or so. And then, so they're nice and hydrated. And then I shake them out. I put them on a towel upside down. So any extra water will trickle out. And I leave them there for a while or overnight, and then I put them back into their spot. So it just looks like it's a little thirsty. The others don't, but the one that is showing it has the red does just look like it's a little dehydrated. So
Okay.
so probably
Okay, even this last time, Jocelyn, I didn't leave it in that long. It was only like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So evidently it didn't get enough, but I'll try that then next time.
Yeah. I would check the base to make sure it's not rotting.
I did that. I
oh,
checked
okay.
on all of them and it seemed fine. You know, they
Okay.
had a little root growth or whatever, you know, they grow at the bottom.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
Okay, no, that's a good sign. That's a
Okay,
good sign.
good.
Yeah, so it just looks like it just had a little bit of some dehydration. But I've had some that I've forgotten. I've completely forgotten. I have them, for instance, like sometimes I put them up on shelves like that.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple up there and I'll forget them. So
Oh.
I'll water everybody else and then completely forget. And when I go to water those guys, I'm like, oh, it's been like a month.
Oh.
And so then sometimes that can happen. You'll end up getting a couple leaves like that, of those leaves that just turn into like those taco. And usually they're crispy at that point. So I just snip them off and give it a good soak and new growth comes in. So
Oh,
it's like,
good.
all right. So
Oh,
so don't
good.
worry, it's not like at a loss or anything. But yeah, they can rebound from that. So
Okay, great.
so don't
Good.
worry.
Oh, great.
Totally,
Thanks so much.
yeah, it's totally happened.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
don't
great.
worry. But these are really cool. Ionanthas, for any of you who haven't had experience with air plants, these are great ones to start out with. These varieties come in they come in different colors. They have really cool shapes, and they tend to be very forgiving as air plants. So you can accidentally forget to water them for a couple weeks before they're completely gone.
Okay.
So yeah, don't worry.
Okay. Oh, thanks so much, Jocelyn.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Let me see here. A few more minutes. Okay, Shirley. Yes. Let me know. In terms of the humidity, a lot of houseplants, because they do tend to be tropical species, they prefer 50% and up of humidity. Some folks are like, I don't want my house to be 50% humidity and up. So yeah. So in terms of other species, things like an African violet, a lot of pothos, they can bear, in the 40s of percentage of humidity. They can be okay. Some plants that are very, very tropical species, they will start to crisp up if it's under 50. But yeah, so just kind of see where your humidity is. And what I like to do is, especially if I get a new gauge and I'm setting it up in a place I haven't had one previously, I'll just make a note to kind of check every few hours, because sometimes your humidity is going to fluctuate throughout the day. So I'll check to see, okay, so this area tends to be on average, at this kind of humidity, and that helps also with what kind of plants am I going to keep there, what's the temperature. So like by our window, we live in a very old, this building was built in like 1930. So it's almost 100 years old. So our windows tend to be very drafty. So by the windows, I tend to have plants, a lot of like cacti, like Opuntia, for instance, that there's something that could overwinter. I don't have to worry too much if the humidity drops there, or it's like mostly all succulents. I have agave, I have a euphorbia there. There's an aloe. Let's see, what else do I have by that window? Yeah, there's a lot of different euphorbias and a lot of different opuntias. And so sometimes that's the best way. If you have a spot and you're trying to figure out, well, what will work there, is setting up a gauge and then just kind of seeing, so what kind of light are you getting in the area. That's a fun way to also prep. If you're trying to get plants for your new home, let's say you just moved into a new apartment, that's a really nice way to kind of to figure that out. for pond, do you use 1/3 of each or some other combos? I think, Judy, are you referring to the comment that was made earlier about making your own DIY pond? If so, I haven't tried to DIY my own pond, so I'm not sure. But if Carol, if you happen to know if it's equal parts, like an equal ratio, definitely let us know. I'm gonna try that because I have pumice and I have lava rock, so I'll just see if I can get my hands on zeolite and try to make some of my own pond. I'm totally gonna try that because I have 2 out of the 3 ingredients. If that's the case. Yeah, no, definitely. I'm gonna try that. Oh, but yeah, but just last note on that is that's you know, trying to figure out your parameters before you purchase your plants is a good way to go. Especially if you're new and you're just starting out. You don't want to get a plant, for instance, that needs 70% humidity, and you see it at the store and it's in a cabinet and you're like, oh, this is beautiful. This will look great in my living room. And then only to bring it home and realize your living room tends to be about 40% humidity. And you definitely don't want to have it at 70%. You don't have a cabinet set up. You know, so trying to figure out, to get to really know your home and know what's your inside environment like, right? And is this comfortable? So for instance, it's, you know, average of 60% humidity right now. This is very comfortable for us. At least it might not be comfortable for other folks. You know, so kind of try to see if you can learn a little bit more about your home, and then that really helps with your plant choice. Just ends up saving you money in the long run, because you'll be like, okay, well, these species are more likely to thrive in my home. Maybe these not so much, you know. So it's a good way to kind of figure that out. Let me see here. All right, so it is 1:03, so we're gonna hop off. I just got a haircut and they cut my bangs a little short, so I keep having this like blown thing appearing. I only got a trim because my hair is very long, but I asked her to kind of retouch my bangs, and I just have this thing. It just keeps like slipping. But yeah, I only had a trim, so my hair is still super long. But yeah, so I got a trim over the weekend. But yeah, I gotta figure out the bang situation here. But all right, thank you so much everyone for tuning in. I hope it was fun, and I really like it. It's just kind of laid back. Get to just, you know, hang out, talk about plants. Next week we'll have the plant clinic. So if you have any plants like this, you know, like today you saw, if you have any that have, you know, any potential issues, questions, things like that you have about them, bring the plants next week, you know, show them on video, talk about it. Maybe you had a plant that wasn't doing well and you changed up, you know, something in its care, and all of a sudden it came back and it's doing great. Buy a plant barrette. Yes. Oh gosh, I don't have it. Where is it? I have, hold on. Oh wait, gosh, no, it's gonna take me too long to try to find it. I bought a hat. It's like the French, is it French beret? Is that how it's pronounced? But it's a giant mushroom. It's it's the red, the Amanita muscaria mushroom, the fly agaric, which is that red mushroom with all the white dots. So I got like this French beret. That's a giant mushroom. I want to find a plant one. I have to find a plant one, but I definitely got a mushroom one. But yes, I need to buy like little clips for my bangs until they grow to a controllable, yeah, because it's like they're short enough where they don't necessarily tuck. So I keep having like the strands, and I was like, oh, I think she went a little too short there. But Yeah, more plant accessories always. I'm always down for more plant accessories. If you see any that are fun, send them my way. Any earrings, things like that. Thank you. Yeah, like earrings. These are supposed to be like little white petals. I have a huge collection of plant related earrings. So definitely you find anything fun, send that my way. Yes, so someone's asking for the email. Yes, let me put that in the chat. It's info@urbangarden.eco. Cheryl, I had the same problem.
Hey, Jocelyn.
Hey,
I want to get in that herbal class that you have, but I'm not getting the link. Are you still having that herb class?
no, I haven't had it for a while.
Okay,
But,
yeah, I was trying to. I was just trying to figure out how to grow some on the inside, like house plants. And
Oh, okay. Well, in the herbal class, we don't. It's mostly about like phytochemistry, using herbs, energetics, things like that. It's not necessarily about growing the plants. But
oh,
I can try to do. I'll do a class on herbs, on growing herbs for here. I can totally do that.
one more thing. You know, the things that I was trying to grow are mostly like the weeds that are edible, like purslane, plantain, you know, because they're supposed to be easy to grow. I don't know.
Um, yeah, with purslane and plantains especially, they like full sun. So they tend to be hard to grow indoors. They much more prefer really well draining soil that's like on your lawn or just outdoors. So if you have a window box, that might be the better approach. You can actually set that up, and they might do better that way. Indoors, I don't think I've tried to grow purslane indoors myself, even with cuttings, not just starting them by seed, by actual cuttings. And they might root for me, but they were not doing very well, and then they would just die off. Plantain, I've never tried to grow it indoors, but it's just they like a lot of sun. So I think it's just really difficult to grow those indoors. One you might be able to grow indoors pretty easily might be garlic mustard. That's a great herb, great antiseptic. But I don't even think like dandelions would do too well indoors. There's a lot of really great edible leaves, edible weeds. But yeah, a lot of them would much prefer to grow out in the sun, and they don't transfer very well. They don't.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You answered questions.
Yeah. But thank you so much, everyone, again for tuning in. It's always a joy to have these sessions. For those of you in the States, I believe it's Labor Day, so hope you're relaxing and enjoying yourselves. And yeah, I'll enjoy the rest of your Monday. Again, if you're having a holiday weekend, enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend, and definitely have have a great week, and I hope I'll see you next time. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great one. Stay safe. It's a wacky world out there, so please stay safe, everyone.